signing autographs for the rest of the day. Again, for the autographs, we're letting Sandstein 2 items per person by number. So far, we got up to number 250. After Stan's talk, he'll sign as many as he can until he has to leave to get on his plane at 4 o'clock. But for right now, we have Stan who will answer all your questions about Marvel Comics, Marvel comic movie projects, and anything about Marvel. Welcome, Stan Lee.
Answer all your questions. I'll answer as many as I can.
I can't find it. Yeah, that's
Can't find it beside you.
Usually
take a look if you can.
I gotta warn you about one thing. I've been living in Los Angeles for the past 10 or 12 years, working on Marvel's movie and television projects. So I really don't have time to read all our comics faithfully the way I did years ago. So I hope you're not going to ask me, how come something happened to Wolverine last issue or something? And, you know, what's going to happen? I don't even know what did happen, let alone what's going to happen. But if you want to ask me about something that may have happened 30 years ago, I'm pretty good at that. Or if you want to ask about some of our movie or TV projects, or if you just want to sit and think nice thoughts, you know, whatever. But if anybody has a hand that he or she wants to put up, I will be glad to recognize it, and we'll get off and running with our questions and answers. I see a hand, red cap.
I understand there's a Fantastic Four movie in the works.
A Fantastic Four movie in the works. It is not only in the works, it's just about finished. It'll be released sometime, I think, the end of this year. And I'm not expecting too much of it. It's the last movie to be made that we at Marvel had no control over. Our lawyers just gave the rights to Roger Corman to do the movie. There will be no other projects like that. Everything after that, we're doing ourselves. But as far as that one, it was only a low-budget movie. I think they did it for under $2 million. So when you figure Batman cost about $80 million, I don't know that we can expect too much. But the guy who directed it, Oli Sassoon, is a friend of mine. I know he did the best he could. So it'll probably be as good as a $2 million movie could be. And I've got my fingers crossed. Yes, sir?
Back in Secret Wars #8, Spider-Man not getting any costume. Thor also used the same machine. Why didn't an alien costume come out of the machine?
Yeah.
Was it kept as experimental?
Thor used the same machine as Spider-Man, and he doesn't have a new costume, and Spider-Man does. I'll yell at the editor and tell him he made a mistake, and I'll get an answer for him. I don't even remember it, but thanks for it. I'm glad you're paying attention. Yes, sir. Will I be writing anything else other than Ravage? As a matter of fact, I'm not writing Ravage anymore. I had to stop after the 7th issue. You know why I really stopped writing Ravage? Basically, I didn't have the time putting other characters, so it would have been too difficult. So I gave it to somebody else, and of course I have ambivalent feelings about it. I hope that somebody else does a great job. In a way, I hope he doesn't do quite as good as I did. But we'll see. Yes? Listen closely in case I don't hear.
Mine isn't so much a question. I'm a old-timer from way back when. There an article you wrote back in the mid-60s, one of the soapboxes on bigotry and prejudice? Okay, I read that in South Louisiana back in the mid-60s, and that's influenced the way I felt about a lot of stuff kind of ever since then. And I just want to thank you, basically. That's the easiest way to put it.
Well, thank you for thanking me. For those who didn't hear, but you did hear, thank you very much. It's a funny thing you should say that. You know, the X-Men is doing a promotion which will come out very soon if it hasn't already started with Pizza Hut. They're doing something about the X-Men cartoons, and they're either going to give away or sell or something some little videotapes about the taken from the X-Men cartoons, and they wanted 5 extra minutes added to every videotape of interviews with me and with 3 of the guys who write and edit the X-Men. and they're going to put that on the videotape. And in the tapes, when we were talking, I also mentioned how the X-Men are sort of, we try to make them a lesson in bigotry and prejudice and showing that you shouldn't really dislike anybody because the other person is different. And that is the one lesson we hope, if there was any lesson Marvel ever tried to get across, it was, you have every right in the world to dislike anyone you want, but not because of his religion, his nationality, his color, or anything. Just as an individual, that's all. And now I'll get off my soapbox. Any other questions? Yes, thank you. What? Why was the movie Wolverine cut? There wasn't a movie Wolverine, so we couldn't have cut it. But I'll tell you this, there's going to be an X-Men movie. We're working with Universal Studios right now. Thank you. It'll be a live-action movie. It may very well be directed by Dick Donner, the guy who did Spider-Man and Die Hard. I'm sorry, Superman and Die Hard. It's going to be a very big movie. We're just now negotiating the contract with him. I might as well tell you about a few more movies. The Spider-Man movie, for the first time, Jim Cameron, who's going to write it and direct it, and you know, he's the fellow who did the Terminator, Aliens, he sent me the story, which he had just written. And I've got to tell you, I always thought that Cameron was probably one of the world's greatest directors who also happened to be able to write movies. He's one of the world's greatest writers who also is a great director. This story he sent me is one of the best stories I've ever read. And he wrote a note, you know, he's doing a movie now with Schwarzenegger called True Lies. And he said, Stan, I can't wait to finish True Lies because I am so eager to do the Spider-Man movie. I've wanted to do that since I was 14 years old. So he's going to start shooting it next year. After he's finished True Lies, it'll probably come out in '95. And I have a feeling it's really going to be one of the best things to hit the screen. Yes, sir. Venom? The question was, is Venom ever going to have a movie or an unlimited series? Let me tell you in advance how you can always answer questions like that. Anytime we have a character who is very popular, who sells very well, and you can always tell how popular a character is, we start using them as a guest star in every other book. You can rest assured there will be a series, because we're not so dumb. So when we get a popular character, of course there'll be a series. As far as a movie, you never know. The chances are somebody, if he's popular enough, somebody will sooner or later say, hey, let's do a movie of him. Yes? Into the what? Into the which comic books? Are we going to try to get a few more characters into the future comic books? Sure. We're always trying to get new characters. We're doing it all the time. In fact, I was at the Marvel offices the other day, and you'd be amazed. They're turning out over 100 books a month. You'd think that would be enough to keep them busy. But all the editors were sitting around. They were having a meeting. And they've got about 50 other projects they're planning. New characters, new stories, new type of books.
It's a real industry.
I think there is more excitement going on in Marvel than you can shake a stick at. Way back there, yeah. I need you. Okay, you're next.
You, Karen.
When are the new action figures going to be coming out?
When are the new action figures going to be coming out?
The action figure, gee, I really don't know. But we just bought into this toy company called Toy Biz. And they are working night and day. Mostly the figures they're doing are for the X-Men. And they'll be coming out pretty soon. They're also going to do a line of Iron Man figures. They're going to do a line of Dead. I mean, everything we've got, they're going to... Now that we own the company, I promise you, you're going to get more toys than anybody can afford to buy. Back there.
Are you going to have a movie with Wolverine in it?
Yes, we're going to have a movie with Wolverine in it. Even as we speak. That's the X-Men movie that I told you Dick Donner is
Oh,
probably
you're gonna
going to
do one,
in,
right? That time.
20th century doing it. I might as well tell you about all the movies fast so you don't have to ask individual questions. The Spider-Man movie goes into the works next year. There's going to be a Black Panther movie starring Wesley Snipes.
Cool.
Thank you. That'll be done by Columbia Pictures. There's going to be a Hulk movie. That's going to be done by Universal Pictures. There's going to be, there are a couple others, I can't think of them now. 2 people want to do a Thor movie. I've got to go back and talk to them. I've got to talk to, there's a very famous director named Roland Joffe. He wants to do either the Ghost Rider or Doctor Strange. I'm going to meet him. Whichever one he does, there's another guy who wants to do the other one. So I think the Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange are both going to be done. There's going to be a Spider-Man animated series, just like the X-Men. Fox Broadcasting has just ordered 65 episodes of Spider-Man. We're starting up our own animation studio again. We're hiring people out on the coast now. And starting next year, the middle of the year, there'll be 65 new Spider-Man cartoons. And then we're going to do a series mix of the Iron Man cartoons. That's all I can remember. Oh, and we're also doing a Luke Cage movie. I don't know who's going to be in it yet. And we're working on a Blade Vampire Hunter movie with New Line Films. They're the people who do the Mutant Ninja Turtles. So we've been kind of... Oh, Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone wants to do Elektra Assassin as a movie. And I let him twist my arm. I said, okay, you can talk me into it. And let's see, Oliver Stone also is working on doing, you can get this, on doing the She-Hulk as a television series, live action. So next year is going to be pretty exciting. Yes! Is there going to be an X-Men limited series? You mean a comic book series? Yes. In fact, there's always an X-Men limited series. All of the X-Men are limited series. The minute they stop selling, we'll probably... No, we've got so many X-Men now. We have limited series, we have unlimited... I don't even know the names of all them. We got a guy back there. Yes?
Now, how do you feel about the artists that split off from Marvel?
I need your help.
How do you feel about the artists that split off from Marvel before Image?
Now somebody's got to tell me what you said. Say that louder.
How do you feel about the artists that split off from Marvel before Image?
How do I feel about the artists that split off from Marvel to form Image? Good luck to them. Most of them are friends of ours. And there's no reason why a guy can't quit and form another company. That's what makes America. That's what makes competition. The better they get, the better we have to be in order to stay on top. Who benefits by it? You do. If there's no competition, everybody gets lazy. We think we've got the best books, the best artists, the best writers. One great thing about this business, comics have become so popular. It used to be if an artist left, a good artist left, you couldn't replace him. It was a big tragedy. Now, whoever leaves, there are 10 guys who are better just waiting to get a job. So it isn't really the problem it used to be. I love all those guys. I hope they do well. I hope we do well. And I hope you have a lot of books to choose from. Yes?
Yes, sir. I can help you out with this.
How long can you maintain prices against the independent?
How long can we maintain the prices of the Marvel books against our cover price?
How long can you stabilize?
I don't know. I am no better at answering that question than anybody else. What happens, Marvel, and I'm sure the other companies too, none of us want to raise the prices of the books. We know you don't like it. It makes it tougher for you to buy the books. We don't want to do it, but there is always a point at which the printer raises his prices, the cost of paper goes up, everything goes up, and at some point, all the accountants in the company study the figures, and they say, hey, we got to raise the price or we'll be losing money. I don't know when that'll happen. Nobody does. So we keep our fingers crossed. But I can promise you this, We will never raise the price of anything unless we absolutely have to, because we don't want to do it any more than you do. Yes, right here. I didn't even know Carnage was awake, but sure he'll make a... Carnage is a popular character. Again, you can answer these questions yourself. If Carnage is gone for a while, if Cable is gone for a while, if Venom is gone, of course they'll be back. They're too popular. We're not going to let them stay gone for long. Yes. Shout it out! What about Superman? Is it true I sold Superman to DC? No. I never owned Superman. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. Where do I see comics going in the future, and what advice will I offer to anybody wanting to get into the field? Don't I have a great memory for questions? I don't know where comics are going any more than you do. All I can tell you is they're getting more and more popular. Every time I go somewhere to speak, there are more people than there were before. I just got back from that big convention in San Diego, which is one of the biggest. Last year, there were 25,000 people there. This year, there were 35,000. I just think comics are going to get bigger and bigger. More and more older readers are reading them. More and more younger readers are reading them. So, where they'll go, I don't know, but as the business gets bigger, they'll start branching out into electronic games and into multimedia. You'll be able to get a compact disc with comics. But your guess is as good as mine. I'm not a predictor. As far as people wanting to get into comics, let me mention this very quickly. If you're a writer, it's almost impossible, because you've got to be a professional writer who's been published. About the only people they consider are people who can send material, who say, look, these are books I've already done, these are comics I've already done, do you like them? I'd like to work for you. If you're an artist, it's much easier, provided you're incredibly good. All an artist has to do is make up samples of his work, send them into Marvel, and address them to the art director. Our art director, John Romita, he looks at everything. If he finds that your work is really great, he'll get in touch with you, and you're off and running. If you're a writer, really the only way you can do it is to somehow get friendly with one of the editors. Write them a lot of letters, phone them, come up to the office, get to know them, and after a while maybe you can convince them to give you a tryout. But I don't want to kid you, it's very tough to become a comic book writer. Yeah. And this young man here is a stand-up. I really don't know. Thank you. Yes, sir.
He went storm wearing nothing.
Comics, but I don't think it's going to happen. The question was, he heard or read that in 2099 we're going to kill off all the heroes of the present. Nah, maybe for one story, just to tease everybody. Who has it over there? Yeah. How loud can you shout?
I was wondering if Marvel and DC would team up again.
If Marvel and... Whoops. He was wondering if Marvel and DC will team up again. I met with, what's his name, Paul Levitz, who's one of the guys at DC, at the San Diego Fair. And I said, hey, Paul, how about doing a Spider-Man, Superman story? So I said, when I get a hold of Tom DeFalco, who's our editor-in-chief, I'll mention to him that you said you want to do it, and maybe, so I'm going to tell Tom about it, and maybe we'll do it. But those things, what happens is the editors want to do them, and then the lawyers have to work out the contract, and it gets so complicated, but we'll try to do it. Who hasn't had it? All right, that fella jumping up and down. Yeah.
Who do you think was
Asshole.
The best Marvel character, what? Huh? The best one I ever made? Oh, I don't know. I'd have to leave that to you. They're all my favorites. You know, every time I think, I'm my own biggest fan, and I love everything I've ever done. So I can't answer that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
What's your favorite comic?
The favorite comic I'm doing now, actually, I'm not doing one, which is comic books. And suddenly two superheroes from another dimension come to Earth. They're 20 feet tall. and the publisher of this comic book company tries to sign them up, and he figures it would be great to write about real superheroes. But then he begins to realize, hey, these may not be heroes. These guys could be trouble. And are there any more like them? And why are they here on Earth? And it gets very complicated. Well, I didn't have time to write it, but I mentioned it to some guy who publishes books. He said it sounds like a great idea for a pocketbook series. So Signet Books bought it, and they have a line of books called ROC, R-O-C, that publishes science fiction stories. So they've just published the first one. It's called Stan Lee's Rift World, and it's the only time I've ever had my name on something that I didn't write, because I didn't write the story. They got another guy to write it. It's just my idea. But he did a great job. It's exciting, it's funny, it's satirical, and the company likes it so much they've already written 3 stories. It's going to be a whole series of science fiction books. So if you get a chance, you might enjoy Rift World. Marvel is going to later on do a comic book series of it, and we've already had 2 nibbles from movie companies who want to do movies of it. So remember, you heard it first. Rift World. Yes, sir. How do I come up with the characters? I think of them. I don't know. People very often ask that. I have absolutely no idea. I mean, you sit down and you say, I want to make up a new character, and you try to think of what doesn't yet exist, and then you write it. It's like they used to say when you're a sculptor, you want to sculpt an elephant, you take a big block of clay, and you chisel away everything that isn't an elephant, and what you have left is an elephant. I don't know. I can't answer that. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Who do you want to play Peter Parker?
Who do I want to play? If I were a little younger, now I'm going to try to play Jonah Jameson. That's what I'm going to do. I think you better all write a letter to Cameron and tell him he better cast me. I don't know. Peter Parker will probably be an unknown. They'll probably look around. In fact, Cameron said he intends to spend the next year trying to find a talented 17 or 18-year-old guy who can play the role. Just like Chris Reeve, nobody had really heard of him before the movie. But the villains, and I can't tell you who they'll be, it's a deep, dark secret, but the villains, I'm sure, will be famous actors. And let's see, anybody who hasn't had a question yet? Yes?
About how long does it take you to write one comic book?
How long does it take me to write one comic book? Well, when I used to write them, it took about a day. And now I do it a little faster, but I'm not writing that many, so. The only thing I'm really writing steady now is the Spider-Man newspaper strip, which those of you who may have seen this thing that's been passed around, what we're doing starting in December, and this has never been done before in the history of the human race. We're going to use the same story in the newspaper strip as we are in the Spider-Man comic book, which is totally impossible. You can't do it the same, but we're going to try. And they're making a whole contest out of it. All the details are in that thing, and I hope you're going to enjoy it. Yes, sir. 2 questions. All right, thanks. I'll sign this later. That's not a question. I'll be signing them in a few minutes. But yes. Question was, will there be more X-Men cartoons instead of the ones you're seeing all the time? Yeah, we're doing another 65 of those. You're going to have X-Men cartoons up to your earlobes. There'll be so many you won't know what to do with them. Yes, sir. On the cartoons? Are we going to get the story of Wolverine, Sabretooth, somebody else in Cable and Stripe? Of course you are. But we're not going to do it too soon. We want you to keep buying the books, you foolish person. Yes, ma'am. Right there. You had your hand up, now you're looking around. Where did you go? Was there a Marvel comic cookbook? How about that? I don't know. You may not believe this. I'm not the guy who did that book. I don't know how to boil water, but if it's important to, I'll try to find out. Yeah, no, you had a question, I can't do it twice. Who didn't have a question? You. Yes, sir. He forgot what it was.
Why?
Now this is the kind of question I always dread. Is Carnage's costume more powerful than Venom?
Why is it?
And why? I mean, it is, but you want to know why.
Why?
Ah, you're asking the wrong guy. I didn't even know they each had different costumes. Now, I gotta tell you, every month they send me 100 books that they publish and they put them on my desk. Then they send me the books that DC publishes. Then I get the Image and the Valiant and the Dark Horse and the Defiant and whatever. I come in once a month and my desk is covered with 50 million comic books. I don't even have time to look at them, let alone read them. And I know I should know what's going on, but it's impossible. So questions like which costume is more powerful or something, I'm going to have to ask you. Yeah, the fella back there. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask them if they're doing comic books on like CompuServe or
Called what?
Generation X.
Something X. You hear that? Huh?
Gene or something.
Generation X. Yeah, that's one of ours, but I don't know what it's to be. I haven't read it yet. I probably won't for the next year or two. Yes, sir.
Good question? Yeah.
How do I feel about all the gimmick covers, the gold foil, the trading cards? It's very simple. If we sell a lot of them and make a lot of money on them, I love them. Now, you may think that's very crass and cold-hearted, but it really isn't for this reason. If we sell a lot of them, it means that you people, or most of you, must like them. Because if you didn't like them, you wouldn't buy them. And that is the only test there is in the world. You people run the companies. Whatever you buy, we produce. Whatever you don't buy, you can bet your bottom dollar we'll stop producing. We don't want to produce things that nobody wants. So the best way you can show what you like or don't like is by buying it or not buying it. If you keep buying all these crazy foil covers, there's no way we'll convince the guys back in New York that you don't want those covers. And if you don't want them, don't buy them for 2 months and you'll never see another one. It's all up to you. And I'm told I can only take one more question. This is too difficult a decision. Larry, you pick somebody. When did I start? This is a funny question. When did I start writing Marvel Comics was the first part of it. In about 1940. The funny part is, why? A lot of people say to me, why do you write comics? I did it because it was a job and I needed the money. That's usually why people do things in this business. But I've enjoyed it all those years. I've enjoyed talking to you all. Now we're going to do an autograph session. If any of you are foolish enough to want me to ruin your books by marking them up, I have till about, 4 o'clock? Okay, so I'm going to be here signing. Come on up and